They say some things are better left buried out there in the desert, but I never had much luck with burying my past. Seems it likes to dig itself up sooner or later. If you ever find yourself wondering how a man like me ended up with blood on his hands and a legend for a name, well, pull up a chair. There was a day when I bought a woman to settle a debt, and by nightfall I had a gun pointed at my head and 100 secrets clawing at my soul. Truth is, I never meant to be anybody's savior. I was just trying to settle an old score the only way I knew how, by playing a fool in a world that prizes fools for the slaughter. Folks called me Jackson Cole, just another dust-choked drifter rolling through the Arizona territory, boots scuffed, hat pulled low, pockets never as empty as they looked. But that day, my name meant nothing. Only hers did. Clara Whitaker, 23, sold to pay off her dead father's bad luck and worse habits. I can still hear the wooden platform creak under her feet. The air was so dry you'd choke on it, and the sun had a mean way of burning down on a soul. They were bidding on her like she was a prize hog, men shouting numbers and leering with their whiskey eyes. Elias Hobbs was the loudest, stinking of tobacco and old sweat, all belly and no heart, trying to haggle down a human life for the price of a mule. The others weren't much better. Clara stood there, dirty-faced but proud, chin up like she still had something left to defend. You ever watch a person try not to break, even as the world grinds them under? There's a sound to it, silent but sharp. I'd been on both sides of that noise. I waited until Hobbs made his move, pushing in, pawing at her sleeve, the crowd egging him on. My jaw tightened so hard I thought my teeth might crack. That's when I raised my hand and said, 200. Loud, clear, like dropping a hammer in church. Silence rolled over the crowd. For a second, even the wind held its breath. No one had ever thrown that kind of money around, not out here. The auctioneer's eyes bulged. Hobbs spun around, red with fury. "Who the hell are you, boy?" But he didn't scare me. I met his glare, rolled out my wad of bills, and told them my name. Jackson. That's all you need. With every eye on me, I counted out the cash. They handed me Clara like she was a side of beef, and for a moment she looked at me, confused, scared, angry, maybe hoping I'd be better than the rest, maybe just hoping I'd be quick. If you think a man can own another human being, you're a damn fool. But I played along, because sometimes the only way to burn down a rotten house is to walk right through the front door. We rode out of Redstone with a cloud of suspicion at our backs. My stallion, Onyx, moved like a shadow under us. Clara didn't say a word for the first mile, just stared at the rope burning her wrists and the dust rising behind us. I kept my eyes on the horizon and on the riders I knew would be trailing sooner or later. She asked me where I was taking her. I told her, home. I could feel her bristle at that word, like she'd swallowed a nail. It was an hour north, past all the places where the land starts to forget the name of man. She noticed things. She always noticed things. The way my saddle gleamed, the weight of the gold watch in my pocket, the clean lines on my revolver. She wasn't stupid, and I wasn't as careful as I should have been. She tested me, little questions, sharp glances. I deflected with the kind of half-truths that taste like lies. When we crested the last hill and the house came into view, a sprawling two-story place with stained glass winking in the late sun, she nearly fell off the horse. I cursed myself for taking the short road, forgetting the decoy cabin I'd set up for just such emergencies. It's been in the family, I muttered. Even to my own ears, it sounded weak. She didn't buy a word of it. As we dismounted, she backed away, keeping me between her and the door. I offered her water, food, a chance to sit out on the porch. She kept her distance, like a wild thing cornered. That's when Rosalita, my housekeeper, opened the door. "Senor Cole, you're home early." And just like that, the mask slipped. Clara caught the name. Her eyes narrowed. There was a tension in the air then, the kind that comes before a lightning strike. She started putting things together. The money, the house, my name, Cole. She repeated it, testing how it fit in her mouth. That was the first time I saw real fear in her face, and not for herself, but for what kind of man I might really be. I tried to steer her away, but before I could say another word, the thunder of horses came up the path. 3 riders, Hobbs and his boys. They rode in hard, guns showing, dust boiling around them. I felt my heart drop into my boots. I grabbed Clara, pulled her toward the house. She tried to jerk free. "Let go of me! What is this?" Rosalita hustled inside, locking the back door. I told Clara the truth, or enough of it. Hobbs and his kind were running a scam, inflating debts, selling girls from desperate families. I'd let them think they won, let the sale happen, so I could get enough evidence to finish them for good. She stared at me, betrayed and angry. "You let them sell me. You let it happen." I nodded. It was the only way to catch them red-handed. But right now Hobbs wants you back. Alive or dead, he doesn't care. She shook, but she didn't cry. Not Clara. I handed her my spare Colt, cold iron heavy in her hands. "You ever shot a man?" I asked. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "No, but I reckon there's a first time for everything." Hobbs shouted from the yard, his voice ugly and sure of itself. "Send the girl out, Cole. We're here to collect." I checked my revolver, thumbed the hammer back. "They're not here to talk," I whispered. "When the shooting starts, keep low, keep behind me." Inside, the house felt small. Too many shadows, too many memories. My mind flashed back to another time, another girl, my sister, Catherine, sold north to a mining camp by these same bastards. By the time I found her, she was already gone. Worked to death. That guilt chewed on me every day. Clara heard it in my voice when I told her. Her eyes softened, just a little. She gripped the pistol tighter. "Then let's end it," she said. The door shattered. Hobbs and his men burst through, pistols drawn, grinning like jackals. The room filled with shouting, gunmetal sweat. I stood in front of Clara, leveled my revolver at Hobbs. "She's not property, not anymore." He laughed, cruel, knowing. "Debt's debt. You got in the way, Cole." His men fanned out, fingers itching. Hobbs took another step, talking big, but I could see him calculating, wondering why I looked so damn calm. I moved my hand just so, pressed the hidden brass button on my vest. That was the signal. "You made one mistake, Hobbs," I said, voice low. "You thought I came alone." In the next instant, the front door filled with armed men. Pinkertons, 6 of them, moving sharp and silent, guns raised. Hobbs' eyes went wide. "You son of a—" "My name is Jackson Cole," I said, letting the old authority bleed into my voice. "Owner of Cole Rail and the man who just ended your little business for good." For a split second, everything stopped. Hobbs's mind raced, fight or flight. But Clara was faster. She stepped out, both hands on the pistol, voice steady as bedrock. "It ends here, Elias, for all the women you've ruined." He lunged for her. She squeezed the trigger. The shot rang out, sharp as a bell, blood blooming on his shoulder. He dropped, howling, as my men swarmed his partners. Shots echoed, glass shattered, boots stomped, then just breathing, heavy and ragged, and the taste of gunpowder in the air. Hobbs was on the floor, his life leaking out between his fingers. The Pinkertons had the others cuffed, face down in the dirt, dreams of easy money shattered. I holstered my gun, walked over to Clara. She stood there, trembling, eyes wide, the gun still smoking in her hands. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck. She looked at me, finally seeing not just the mask, but the man beneath. "You're not who I thought," she said, voice hoarse. "No, Clara," I answered, "and I'm sorry for every lie. I just wanted to make it right, at least once." We stood in that wrecked old parlor, with justice paid in sweat and gunfire, and the ghosts of every bad decision staring us down. Out in the yard, the Pinkertons loaded up Hobbs and his men, dragging them away toward judgment and a gallows sunrise. Clara turned to me, the sun bleeding through the broken windows, dust motes spinning in the gold light. She was free, truly free, but neither of us would ever be the same. Funny thing about stories like this, they don't ever tie themselves up neat. The desert remembers, even when folks try to forget. That's just how it goes, out here where legends are born in gun smoke and regret. And that's the truth of it. Sometimes a man's only measure is the debts he's willing to pay, and the ghosts he can't outrun.